Through the drawn curtain, moonlight caresses your face. My heart sings with joy. Lying by your side, tracing your delicious curves, my fingers linger. I know you must leave. With you gone, the nights are long. Return soon, I pray. And one last one. Frozen winter lake, smoke rising from the chimney, snow geese flying south. Great. This next poem is called Gratitude, and it's about my dog who is in doggy heaven. His name was Luke. A little story about Luke and San Francisco, SFTS. I used to bring, when I was working here at the counseling center for some 30 years, I used to bring Luke to work, and he would greet the patient in the waiting room, and he would walk back, and he would go to sleep in the corner, and he was like this amazing presence in the room. And one day I was working with a prison guard who was kind of a rough character, not prone to feeling his emotions. And on this particular day, Luke was asleep in the corner of the room. And because Luke was in the room, he began to remember an incident from his childhood when he had a dog, and the dog passed away. And for the first time, I saw a little tear form in his eye. It was the first time he felt anything, at least that I was aware of. And right at that moment, Luke, who was asleep in the corner of the room, got up, walked over to him, put his paws up on him, and started to lick him. It was just amazing. And I figured that dog is a hell of a lot better therapist than I am.
Oh, the truth, huh?
The truth comes out. So this poem is called Gratitude. It was a perfect day. I sat on my favorite rock overlooking the canyon where I live, warmed by the afternoon sun, with my best friend Luke sitting contentedly by my side. I envied no man. Whatever disappointments I suffered, I forgot. I wanted for nothing beyond the companionship of this incredible dog I loved with all my heart, who licked me awake each morning, bringing such comfort and joy to a life in need of both. That evening, after the day's hike, we sat together quietly on my back deck, bathed in the sweet coolness of the full moon and caressed by her beauty. A swish of his tail, a big, bold yawn, then like some ancient ritual in his DNA, he would circle in place 3 times as if matting down the wild grass to make his bed. Then he would lay down with a big, contented thud, his belly rising and falling like a giant bellows as he gently fell asleep under the watchful eye of me and the moon. Who could ask for more than this? Let's see. This next poem is about my cat Ajax, who also passed away. But he's a wonderful cat. He was a feral cat, and I had been feeding him out on the deck for 7 years before he would ever let me get close to him. And if I tried to get close to him, he would scratch me or he would run away. But after 7 years, he figured that, okay, this guy's cool. So all of a sudden, he sort of became my cat. And one day, there's this transition period where I would leave the door to the deck kind of ajar so he could go in and out so he wouldn't feel trapped. And then finally he began to realize that it's okay, he could come in the house and he wouldn't get trapped. So during this transition period, I was sitting on the couch and he was sitting next to me and the door was ajar, and who comes walking in but a raccoon? And Ajax, before I could even get up, Ajax leaped off the couch, charged the raccoon, and the raccoon turned and split. And I said, that is a badass cat, because I was trying to figure out what was he thinking. And I think what he was thinking was, I've been working this guy for 7 years. And if you think you can just walk in and get a free meal, you're crazy. So he lived for 21 years. I mean, he was like an old dude. I didn't have him all that time, but I had him for most of that time. So just as when Luke died, I was heartbroken. When Ajax died, I was heartbroken. Because they become like your kids. So this is a poem for Ajax. I wish I could take the memory of your cheek, its soft fur pressed gently against mine, and weave it into a blanket, so that long after you've gone, I'd wrap myself in its comfort before going to bed at night, remembering you and dreaming of our nightly ritual of communion, our ancient healing. How you'd scramble onto my bed with your frail body, caressing me with your cat-like way as I lay on my back, pressing your nose onto mine again and again, then laying your cheek next to mine, your paws and body resting on my chest. I'd slip my left hand in the narrow hollow there, then softly rub your velvety ears with my right hand and pet you with long, slow strokes, your sweet purring punctuated with occasional chirps as I'd fall asleep, certain in the knowledge of being loved. This is a poem about my dad. My dad was born in 1897. You get that? 1897. So he was pretty old when I came along. And he didn't talk much. He was very shy and withdrawn, but he was a very decent man. But I didn't know much about his childhood because he didn't speak about his childhood very much. And for some reason, I didn't ask, and maybe there was something atmosphere in the family where I wasn't supposed to inquire, so I didn't. So whether it was him or me, I don't know. But I really love my dad. And at one point, I have a picture of him. I don't have many pictures of him, but I have this one picture of him in football togs. He was a football player in college and in high school. But when I knew him, he was already much older and more frail. So this is a poem about my dad. And also he didn't talk much about what he did during the day. He would get up early, walk a mile to the train station, go to New York, do something, I didn't know what. He'd come back, we'd have dinner. And what I finally found out was he had a simple job. He was a purchasing agent for a department store. But I guess he never talked about it because it didn't touch his soul. What did touch his soul is he was a really remarkable pianist. That was his avocation. It wasn't his job, but as soon as he came home, he would start playing the piano. So I grew up with all these beautiful sonatas, piano sonatas of Beethoven and Brahms and Schumann and Schubert and Chopin and so on. But I felt that the piano got a lot of attention that I longed for. So I had this sort of ambivalent relationship with the piano. But I loved to see my dad play because he was pretty remarkable, and it made me feel good to see him, and I was proud of him. So this is a poem about my dad. The handsome, tough-looking 20-year-old in that picture I treasure hanging above my desk, the one in the football